Hi there. I'm so glad you joined me for another episode of Lights Out, your virtual campfire. This is your hostess with the mostest ghosties, Sylvia Schultz. The fighting at Gettysburg ranged over miles of farmland, orchards, and countryside. The landscape itself affected how the battle played out over 3 days of conflict. In this episode, we're going to visit one of the iconic spots of the Gettysburg battlefield, the boulders of Devil's Den, and above them, the rocky slope of Little Round Top. Grab a water bottle and lace up your shoes, and let's go lights out. Devil's Den is one of the iconic sites on the Gettysburg battlefield. Interestingly, there were tales of hauntings in this area well before July 1863. Gettysburg residents knew of the Native American presence in the area. Early settlers told of seeing ghostly warriors on the boulders and of hearing war whoops ringing in the area at night. Some even said that a great battle was fought here, called the Battle of the Crows. Some sources say this battle was fought 200 years before the Civil War. On July 2, 1863, the second day of the battle, Devil's Den saw some of the day's fiercest fighting. General Lee ordered Longstreet's corps to attack regiments of the Army of the Potomac, commanded by Major General Dan Sickles. Around 5,500 Confederates from Major General John Bell Hood's division captured Devil's Den from 2,400 Union defenders. Then they sniped at Federal troops holding Little Round Top. Confederate sharpshooters used this position to deadly effect, taking out artillerymen and officers alike. It was one of the few Southern successes in the second day's fighting. Looking at Devil's Den from the heights of Little Round Top, it's really difficult to imagine nearly 8,000 men mingling in that small of an area. As a matter of fact, that's what struck me first about Devil's Den, the fact that it's really not that big of a place. Here was a piece of historical land I'd been reading about since grade school, and in my mind, I guess I thought it would be bigger. But the lore of Devil's Den and Little Round Top looms large in the world of the paranormal. Photographers have captured apparitions of Confederate soldiers standing on the boulders of Devil's Den. A young man in a floppy hat sometimes makes an appearance there. He's very genial, helping tourists frame good photos and even posing for pictures. But he never shows up in them. I first visited Devil's Den with members of U.S. Paranormal Research in 2019. While we were there, 2 of our investigators separately reported the same odd, unsettling occurrence. They were both fine as long as they stayed on the asphalt path that led up to the boulders. But as soon as they stepped off the path onto the grass, both Dana and Brian noticed the old penny taste of blood in their mouths. Dana is a psychic medium, but Brian is not.
Range. It was kind of like Normandy. Literally, I just wiped them out.
Yeah.
But there was blood everywhere. Everywhere. Bodies everywhere. Young guys.
Yeah.
Like 13, 14 years old guys. Young. I gotta find a picture. Did they get any pictures of that after it happened?
There's a picture down on that board there.
Oh, there
that
is?
shows a picture with Confederate dead. You can't make out much. In the slaughter pen right down there. Not up here on Devil's Den.
I'll go look at it. I'm getting a young man.
Yeah? Mind if I tag along with
No.
you? I'm recording. Is that
That's
okay?
fine, yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
It's just like an open season, huh? And especially like the slat. I mean, there was nowhere to go. You know, like, you'd think with these big rocks they could hide, and they really couldn't hide.
Yeah.
There really wasn't, I mean, it was like sheer, you know? I don't know, it's weird. I mean, you could hide to some extent, but if you're getting shot at to that extent,
Yeah.
it was only a matter of time before you had to stand up and go somewhere. I mean,
Well, after the Confederates took Devil's Den, they used it to hide here and do sharpshooting up to Little
there,
Round Top.
right,
Yeah.
which is how that dude got killed.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You still tasting it?
Yeah, it's worse when I'm on the grass though.
Really? Huh.
Brian did too.
Right there. Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Coppery. He said coppery. Yeah, you can't tell anything. These poor people. Why do we have this war? Why do we have any war? But, oh my God. These people didn't even know it hit them. Oh. It was no contest. Oh, how awful.
Yeah.
Lots of heads went missing on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because of the cannon fire?
I'm thinking cannon fire or sword.
Ooh, yeah.
But it was like the ground was just, there's blood in the ground. I bet you there's so much in here. It just makes you wonder. I'm going to stay on the asphalt.
Okay, I'm going to walk up to the top here.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Okay. Thank you, Dana.
Oh, sure. I didn't really do anything, but okay.
You gave me experiences.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's a good.
thank you. I'm recording right now, just so you know.
Fine.
Dana said that you tasted blood in your mouth.
Coppery.
Can you tell me about it?
Very coppery.
Yeah.
As soon as I stepped on the soil, I don't know if you guys, very weird, just a copper taste.
Here?
As soon as I stepped off the road into the soil,
That's what she said. It was worse for her on the grass.
yeah, it was just like, horrible taste. Bad, bad, bad. You know, when you cut your finger, you get that coppery taste, just amplified really, really heavy.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You ever wear shorts?
Yeah, we were just
When I returned to Devil's Den in 2020 with Dale Kazmarek and others, I spent some time turning myself into a trigger object. I put on one of my Civil War-era dresses. I also offered any passing soldier's ghost a bit of refreshment. At home, I'd made a 19th century food called sagamite. It was considered a battlefield survival food, somewhat like hardtack, but I think it tastes a lot better. Sagamite is cornmeal and brown sugar mixed with water into a paste, then fried to make portable cakes. Since this was a southern thing, I figured that maybe offering it to the spirits at Devil's Den, a Confederate bastion, might get some paranormal action.
The thing to remember here is that there were multiple charges up this hill, and can you imagine trying to charge up this hill, which is just crazy. You got people behind boulders and rocks shooting down at you, and you're coming straight up, and that's a very steep hill. You'll see it when you get up there tomorrow. It's a very steep hill. But just about where that castle-like structure is, from about there, wrapping around is where those troops were tested very severely, because that was the far right, actually far left of the Union line at that point, and it never broke. In fact, Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, actually, when they ran out of ammunition, they led a bayonet charge down the hill, which surprised the hell out of the Confederates, and they just fled. And he was given a Congressional Medal of Honor for that, and he was actually, at the end of the war, in Appomattox, he was given the honor of accepting General Lee's sword during the surrender, because he probably saved the Union Army in Gettysburg. This whole area has seen a lot of activity in the past. In that field, for instance, there's been the reports of a phantom regiment that people have seen out there. It looks like a 5, 10, 15 people marching, maneuvering, kind of marching off from left to right, going towards the trees, and they just disappear. There have been sounds of cannon fire out here, gunfire, and you might expect that during the 4th of July and hearing pops and so forth. This happens all year long, and we think it might be a lot of residual stuff. During the war, they had a lot of correspondents that followed them around, and also they had photographers. And you might have seen a very famous photograph of a Confederate soldier, apparently a sharpshooter, that was killed at Devil's Den. But what they actually did is they found a dead body. They propped him up on the rocks and laid his rifle next to him, and they say Confederate sharpshooter killed at Devil's Den. They did pose the bodies a lot, unfortunately. Now, I can't even guess how many yards it is from here. Anybody have any guess? I don't even. But can you imagine Colonel Vincent, within 15 minutes after giving the command that here, I place you here, you place your banner here, you place your men on this side, and you hold it at all costs. Right after that, he took a bullet from a sharpshooter from this Devil's Den up there and was mortally wounded. Now, that's one hell of a shot, even with today's rifles and so forth. So he went down. A messenger came down and said that General Vincent's mortally wounded. He died 2 days later. On top of that hill, there was a battery of artillery that was also firing down upon the Confederates. Hazlitt's 5th Artillery Division, and he was going from cannon to cannon, make sure everything was supplied correctly, and he took a bullet from a sharpshooter, and he went down. So as he's going down, his superior, General Weed, comes down to try to listen to his last words, and General Weed takes a bullet here, and he gets died. Now, these were all shot from here, from the Devil's Den. I mean, that's an incredible shot. I mean, you can't even barely see those people. They don't have...
At least 800.
Huh?
At least 800 yards.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have scopes back then. They kind of had rudimentary type aiming devices, but they had to figure out the wind, the elevation, how heavy the bullets were. And I actually got some Confederate bullets. I should have brought them up here, but I'll show them to you. To show you how heavy these things were. You fire them, they automatically begin to drop immediately. So you got to shoot like way up before you hit somebody. You kind of hope it does. They were incredible sharpshooters. But there has been a lot of activity at the Devil's Den. A lot of photographs that have been taken out there. In fact, there's a photograph you can probably, if you Google it, that looks like possibly a Union soldier, possibly a Confederate soldier. It's kind of hard to tell. Actually, on the boulders, just kind of standing there, and there have been several interesting videos shot in this wooded area over here. One was shot by Dave Oster. You remember Dave Oster?
Oh, yeah.
He shot it, and he was facing this direction, and he saw these lights coming through the trees, okay? But if you look at the way the road goes right back through there and through the woods. So I'm sure what he caught were headlights because they looked like they were moving in pairs like that. That was easily debunkable.
I was here with Dave when he filmed that.
Yeah.
And it was not headlights.
You sure about that?
Yeah, it was the lights were visible to the eye.
Okay, well, car lights would have been visible to the eye, but yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that area called? Over
Triangular field.
there? Oh, that's
Right.
right. That's...
It could have been artificial light
Yeah,
source.
yeah.
I can testify it was not fake. It was real. Everybody
Yeah,
was
yeah,
there.
yeah. I'm sure everybody saw it. Yeah, exactly. And also, there was an interesting video that was shot by Vila Wood, I think her last name was. And you can actually Google this one. Along the fence line over there, somewhere in the triangular field, there was a what looked like a straight line of little dots all of a sudden going off. And everybody thought it was got to be fireflies. Well, they all went off in this, like, it looked like just a whole line of fire being fired at somebody. And then after that, a single firefly was ever seen the rest of the night. And then they began seeing these images of soldiers kind of like going, like, even 4 feet, 5 feet off the ground, kind of maneuvering through the trees. And these are people that weren't even ghost hunters. They were just out there putting their cameras out there hoping to capture something, and they capture something. Others have captured strange fogs and strange mist out there. Sometimes there's winter time, so I mean it can be sometimes debatable. But you know, it's a very, very active area. This was, like I say, you know, General John Bell Hood. You know, he actually lost an arm in Gettysburg, trying to lead his people up here. There were no other brigade commanders, other you know, from the Confederates that were actually killed, but there were a lot of brigade commanders and regiment killed by Confederate sharpshooters from the Devil's Den. So what we did, but when we were here in 2017, is we were down there and we were able to actually see the stone wall from the road. If you go all the way here to the end, you'll see a trail. This is a pretty well-worn trail. I don't think you'll get chiggers. You know, there's maybe a couple stems of weeds kind of going over, but I think you should be fine. Well, we set up over there on the wall, and we got all kind of stuff on the obelisk. When I asked, we got soldier that came through. I said, did you die in the battle, or were you wounded? He goes, yeah, I was shot. And I said, where? And he said, in the eye. And we had a rookie investigator with us, and when she heard that, she got so freaked out, so emotional that she went back to the hotel, never investigated the rest of the night. When we came back, she called and she quit the group.
Oh.
So it affects people differently at different times. But anybody got any questions? I don't know.
Yeah, me and Dave were pretty good friends, and that's one of the things we got in an argument about, because he sent me that video. No offense, but I also debunked it as being headlights, and he kind of got mad at me, and we went back and forth about it for a long time. But
I mean, I looked at it, and that's what I look. I mean, I wasn't here. You know, was
I wasn't here either. He just showed me the video. Like, so, I said, I wasn't here.
I mean, there is some roads that go back through there and they wind through there, so it's very possible that's what it could be.
I'm sitting here at Devil's Den, August 7th, 2020. Would anyone like to come and sit with me? Oh, please go away. There's an awfully big bee. No, it's not a bee, it's something else. Awfully big stinging insect here. He's gone. That's good. So, would anyone like to come and sit with me? I've got fresh water here. And I've got a way for you to talk to me.
S-Box. Scanning SM. Scanning AM.
Would anyone like some fresh water? I know it's hot, and you're probably thirsty. Would you like some water? Oh, that is so good. Would you like some? I'll pour it out for you. Here's some water if you need it. Would you like me to take your photograph? I'll take your photograph and send it to your sweetheart if you want me to. Why don't you stand right there and I'll take a photo. I'll take a photograph of you. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Are you hungry? Got some sagamite here. Freshly baked. Would you like some? I think it's good. I like it. Now that we've sat and had a bite to eat, would you like to talk? I'm here to listen. Would anyone like to say anything to me? I'll give you some more water. There you are. There's some willow here. Would you like me to brew some willow bark tea to ease your pain? Oh, I'm going to go rejoin my people. You can come with me if you'd like. We stayed at Devil's Den until past dusk that night, and the evening held several more surprises for us. Sights, sounds, and smells.
Cars. Suddenly we had the stench of cherry pipe tobacco drip down the hill.
Oh.
Hit me smack in the face.
Nice.
Very, very thick. It was there and it was gone. And of course they were recording with camcorder. You know, I mean, a nice shot, but not like we have today. I should have brought my camcorder. I'll use it tomorrow.
Tim's got one.
I'll use it tomorrow. I'm not walking back.
I don't blame you.
So then, well, my little 4K. Oh. And then we heard a sound like a horse, you know, cantering on here. And I go, you know, horses out now. Even the park rangers don't bring your horses out after dark. Then it stopped suddenly. Then we looked up where those tree line is, and I'll actually show you when we go back to our cars. We saw a figure walking up that ridge. Complete darkness, no flashlight. I mean, it was darker than this. It was even much after dark. It was almost 10 o'clock. And nobody could walk up there without a flashlight. Very, very rocky, very steep. We went back there, and there's a fence around the area, and there's briars and sticker bushes.
Oh.
So what did we saw? I'm not going to say it was a Civil War soldier, because I couldn't say I could see a uniform, but I just saw a dark shadow. Just walking up. Now I thought it was maybe somebody trying to relieve themselves. And we got in the car and we were taking off. And we went down into the woods, which they would have parked maybe and walked back. There was no cars up there.
Oh.
So, okay.
Okay, I'm up here with Dean Thompson at what I now know is the Sharpshooter's Wall, where that famous picture was taken of the dead, what they said was the dead Confederate sharpshooter, which was actually some random dead dude that they posed. So, we're going to see if we can talk to him or to somebody.
Oh, this ain't night vision, dang it.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak with us?
It did say simple before.
Oh, okay. I have some water here. Oh, it's fresh and cool. Would you like some?
Diablo said where? W-E-A-R.
Okay.
You're recording, right?
Yes. I'd like to offer you some water. I'm here to help. Here is some water, and if you're hungry, I have some sagamite here. Would you like some? It was baked just a while ago. I know you Confederates say you got tired of this after a while, but I think it's really good. So, would you like some sagamite? Would you like me to leave some here for you? There are people walking around and laughing and whatnot.
Yeah, having a good time at a battlefield.
Yeah, the energy here is so much different than Penhurst. I mean, obviously it's two completely different places, but today was somber and an air of neglect and abandonment, and here, this is the same feeling I got when I was here last year, was it's solemn joyfulness. It's like, hey, we won.
Well, the Penhurst almost seems like Lord of the Rings, where the spirits are basically not trapped. They can basically do what they want.
True.
You know, it's not like St. Albans, where they're tied, ruled, don't do anything, don't move them on, don't do this, don't do that.
Oh.
Where this here, it's like, it's a free-for-all, go and take your pictures, and they were responding like they didn't have any rules or regulations. So, and St. Albans was a strict boys' school, an obedient one. So it was, I don't know the history of Penhurst, but it's an asylum, but the spirits seem to be more laid back because they have the freedom to do so.
They eventually got the freedom, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
They realized that, hey, we suffered, but the people that came after us were okay, ended up okay.
Yeah. And the owners now, like I said, they like to, it said well, W-E-L-L. You know, they're not scrutinizing them, they're not putting out false information, you know, they're just...
That makes a big difference. Yeah. I mean, you know that about Peoria State Hospital. It makes a big difference.
It does, exactly.
When you're telling the truth.
Exactly.
Little Round Top is the rock-strewn hillside above Devil's Den. The fighting here was intense as well, which has left psychic imprints on the land. Perhaps surprisingly, not all of the hauntings are of violent battle. A tourist had an extraordinary experience here in 1998. The woman was visiting with family when they encountered a helpful spirit. She shared the story with John Kachuba for his book, Embedded with the Paranormal Paramilitary. My two aunts, my grandmother, and my uncle and I had gone up right about sunset and had taken a few pictures with the gentleman who was portraying General Lee. We decided to walk down the path that Hood's men had used. We got to the big rocks and were trying to figure out how we were going to get down them, when a young gentleman, whose uniform I had admired on the way up, told us good evening, complimented us on our looks, and offered to hand us down the rocks so we wouldn't fall. After he passed us down, we turned around to see my uncle coming down the rocks, but no soldier. We asked a few people around where he had gone, to have them reply that the only person they had seen near us was my uncle. Kachuba adds, apparently, Southern etiquette survives the grave.
Are you a daily practitioner of the craft? Perhaps a weekly or monthly practitioner? Are you a lazy witch like me? Are you still in the broom closet? Well then please allow me to welcome you to the Dragon's Inn, your podcast for witchcraft, the metaphysical, and folklore. Folks from all walks of life are welcome. The Dragon's Inn, every other Saturday, available where podcasts are downloaded.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're enjoying Lights Out, please check out Podcast Central on Facebook for more of the very best supernatural and paranormal podcasts. I had my own experience on Little Round Top, which is one of the reasons it holds such a special place in my heart. Now, this experience was completely subjective and personal to me. I have no photographic or recorded evidence of it. It's just something weird that happened to me. You may enjoy the story and believe it if you wish to. If you don't, it won't hurt my feelings a bit. This was on my first visit in 2019. I was standing in front of one of the bigger boulders on Little Round Top when all of a sudden I felt a wave of strangeness wash over me, and my knees got weak. I looked over at the boulder, and in my mind's eye I saw a middle-aged man standing there. He wore a Union officer's uniform and white leather gloves. In my imagination, he stood next to the boulder with one gloved hand resting on the rock, as if he was taking a bit of a breather. Then my knees solidified again, the funny feeling went away, and I was back to myself. Later, I found a plaque on the other side of that boulder that marked the place where one of the Union officers had stood to watch the progression of the battle for a while. Was that an actual paranormal experience? Who can say? All I know is that it felt very real to me in the moment. In the next episode, I'll treat you to a bunch of personal experiences of Gettysburg hauntings that people were kind enough to share with me. We're coming up on episode 100, so stay tuned for some fun stories and exciting ghost hunts when we go Lights Out.